Welcome to the podcast, Hopeful Horizons, the bridge where hope and healing meet. Our mission is to create the environment and resources to get people across the bridge from the post-COVID experience to a future filled with hope. Please welcome our host, Holly Porter, founder of Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation. Welcome to the podcast, Hopeful Horizons, the bridge where hope and healing meet. Our mission is to create the environment and resources to get people across the bridge from the post-COVID experience to a future filled with hope. Please welcome our host, Holly Porter, founder of Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation.
Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to be talking to another wonderful gal who suffers from long COVID. And if you've caught any of our other shows, we're still fairly new, and we just want to have you support this cause because there are 65 plus million documented cases of long COVID. And that's documented. So many people that are suffering, and we are just looking for that support and awareness to be out there for this, to support this mission. Our speaker today is K Shiflett. I am going to let her introduce a little bit about her, and then she's going to share her story. We met on TikTok, and she was sharing there, and I was looking for more people that I could see, like, why am I going through this? Who else is going through this? And it's a great community over there, and I thought she would be a great guest today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Holly. I'm really happy to do this.
Happy to have you. Can you just start telling us your story of, well, first give us a little background about you and what led you up to it, and then when you got COVID, that story.
My name's K Shiflett. I'm actually a designer here in Rye. I make and design wedding gowns here in Rye, or that was my passion. We were pretty geared up for 2020, like that was supposed to be like our really big, huge year, and obviously, like COVID just kind of blew that in the face. I have 4 kiddos, and we live in the mountains. It's absolutely beautiful here, and it's been a journey. I contacted COVID in February of 2020. So I am almost 4 years, which sounds really bizarre to say that it has taken this long to get to where I am now, because it's not
when you
fast.
got it, they hadn't even announced what COVID was.
They had not. We didn't even know that we had COVID or that I had COVID. We had gone to a conference in California with 100,000 people, and we had just gotten home from that conference when I got sick. We kind of speculate that's where I got it, but we're not for sure. But we got home, and probably a week or so after that conference, I got just had the most pain I've ever had in my lungs. I felt like somebody was sitting on my lungs. I've never had lung problems. I'm actually was a really avid trail runner year round here in the mountains. And so I've never had problems with my lungs. I've never had problems with my heart. I've never had, any health issues. And so that was the first thing that I noticed that was just like, something's really wrong. Like I was winded just trying to do simple things. And then I came down with like a fever and the whole gamut of everything. And, at the time, like looking back, like we actually did go to the emergency room. But it was so full of people that I was just like, I can't be here. I can't do this. I'll go back home. We'll figure it out. And it's pretty crazy because we had a bridal show that we were supposed to do that weekend, and we ended up going, but I was so sick the entire time. And my husband just really kind of had to lead it and pick it up and talk to people because I was very, very sick. And it was crazy because once I got over it, like I didn't recognize some of the lingering things. I knew my lungs hurt and that was part of being sick. And so I associated that respiratory to like I definitely am still sick from that, and that didn't go away, right? But like I started having all kinds of other stuff that I just didn't associate with being sick. Like I had just the worst headache, and I guess I kind of knew it was from being sick, but at the same time, I thought, oh, I'm probably not eating as good as I usually do, or I'm not exercising like I usually do, because I couldn't. Like I could not run. Like it was really terrible. And I tried several times, and it was really, really hard. And then I would just be in bed, and I was like so confused, like what in the world is going on with me? And then we heard about COVID, and then we heard about the shutdown. So in my case, it's more of a presumed case of COVID, kind of like it just fits the bill. And then obviously like with the long COVID. Now, the long COVID stuff, the stuff that was really crazy, like the neuropathies and the weird head pain sensations, and just a lot of the weird stuff that started coming was kind of gradual. Like it was like 2-3 months after I was sick. And it started actually with my thumb. My thumb was numb, and I just thought that's so bizarre. And I actually went to the doctor for my thumb. Like that's what I went to the doctor for. And I knew I had all this other stuff going on, but I thought, oh, maybe it just needs more time, but this was like 3 months, 4 months later, like, because everything was shut down for a while there. So we couldn't even get in to see the doctor. And then once we finally were, and I went in, it was crazy, because I went in to my doctor's office, and they listened to my lungs, and the nurse practitioner there, she listened to my lungs, and she was like, you had something really bad. And like I was like, what? What? Like she even went and got a different stethoscope to like listen more to my lungs, and she was like, you are getting an x-ray. And I was like, what? Like and like it really hadn't crossed my mind that we had COVID. Like it just hadn't. It just, like it was so new at that time. It was just so crazy. We just had no idea. And so that was kind of the start of it. And unfortunately, it just got worse from there, like instead of better. And the problem is right after that visit with my doctor, they closed their clinic. So they no longer were even there. So I had to go through the process of finding a new doctor and all this stuff. So by the time I finally saw somebody, I got this infection, this horrible respiratory infection in February of 2020. By the time I finally was able to find out about the x-rays and look at some other things and start doing some other things, was not until November of 2020. Like that was a long time, So honestly, by that time we had started to suspect COVID, because I was just having so many weird symptoms, and we were online, and we started to notice that other people were having really weird symptoms after having COVID. And one of the things they talked about was like no smell, no taste. And that was definitely something that occurred in February, where I like everything tasted weird, and I couldn't smell right. Like that was definitely part of that, what happened. But I just had no idea, it was still so new. No, nobody knew. So we started the task of trying to figure it out, and going through all the tests and all the stuff. And my doctor was like, we're sending you up to the long COVID clinic in Denver. There's nothing that we can do for you here. This is beyond us. And I was able to get into the long COVID clinic in Denver. It was in the spring, I want to say like May of 2021, when I finally got into that clinic. But there's a lot of things that happened in between then and there. We ended up going down to Arizona actually for a month, because I could not breathe. My lungs hurt so bad, and I was having so many problems. And we're at 7,000 feet where I live in the mountains. So I could not function hardly. And we were doing online school. That was a decision we decided to continue. We just weren't sure how it was going to go with kiddos. So we were doing online school. Let's just go down to Arizona for a month. We got a really good deal on an Airbnb, because nobody was going anywhere. Nobody was renting. And the man who owned the Airbnb, like he was a godsend, because we could not have afforded it if he had not have been like, hey, like you'll help me, I'll help you kind of thing, you know? And we spent a month down there, and it's a good thing I did go down there, because it was just, I couldn't handle being here. It was too much. But there was a lot going on, like not just like I had like the neuropathies, I had like serious head pains. I mean, like burning, and like I felt like a bruise all the time, like somebody was pulling out my hair. It was really terrible. I had all this pain in my lungs. My heart was doing super weird stuff. I have to say that I did go to the cardiologist and did a test with the cardiologist. And I was like, okay, like I knew something was wrong because my heart was being so weird. And I was just like, he wanted me to run on the treadmill, and then they're going to like do an ultrasound. And I was like, I'm going to run as hard as I can, because if I'm going to have a heart attack, gosh dang it, I'm going to have it here at the doctor's office, with the cardiologist, you know? And I didn't, thank goodness. And I don't know, that probably wasn't the right approach, but you know, like that's just how I was. That's my personality. Like I want to figure things out. I want to do it. I want to, you know, and I'm just going to through it, and I'm going to get this done. And that's just my personality. I'm sure a lot of the things now, knowing what I know about long COVID, a lot of those things probably were more detrimental than good. We didn't know. We had no idea. And then there was like the mental aspect of just the anxiety and the depression, like things that I have not dealt with before on that kind of level. What is going on? Like I was not me at all. I'm really pretty like happy-go-lucky person, and I was just a mess and so fatigued, so tired. Like it was just we had tried taking the kids on a little outing. This was when we were in Arizona, and we were going to do just like a small hike in Arizona. And it was crazy because we did this little hike, and then I was in bed for the entire week afterwards. I felt like I was dying. Like it was terrible. And so, you know, like there was a lot. There was a lot going on there for sure. And it's interesting because the way that I coped with it, a lot of it, was by doing this really crazy project that I that you know, it's funny because you know I had a really thriving business that was really we had so much planned for 2020, so much. We had this new line that we were going to launch, and we had done all the work, and we're going to have like all kinds of interviews, and going to be looking at placing some of my gowns in stores, and all, you know, obviously all that just blew up, right? And dealing with that on top of also dealing with homeschooling my kids, which was pretty new to us. We did find a good online program, but still I had to facilitate, right? And then dealing with all this health stuff I just did not understand. I was just kind of a mess. And I thought, what do I need? What do I need? And like literally in the middle of the night, I came up with this like crazy project. So it's funny because I told my husband after I had like thought out this project in the middle of the night, and I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going to throw paint all over one of my gowns, one of my wedding gowns. And he was like, why would you do that? And I'm so mad. I'm so upset. I'm so agitated, which now I know is the long COVID, that I'm going to throw paint all over this dress. He was just, you do whatever you need to. And so I set up this space, and we have like a little, it's a guest house, but it's tiny, like it's not very big. But so I set up this space in there, and I thought, okay, I'm going to design a new gown for this purpose. I'm going to design a new gown, a wedding gown. And then I'm going to destroy it, but with purpose. Like I had a purpose for destroying it. So I had, you know, I really thought it out, like, because there's a lot of days I couldn't work on it physically. So I just like think out like This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is why, there was a lot of that. Like before COVID, it would take me, I can make a dress in a day, maybe 2 days. After COVID, it takes me weeks. It takes me a long time to be able to do it. Sometimes even months, depending on the dress, because I have to rest a lot in between, right? So I came up with this plan. I got it all ready. I documented the whole thing. And then it was pretty crazy because I just walked up to that beautiful white dress and I just threw black paint all over it. And I wanted it to be black. I wanted it to be black because I felt like there was like this darkness, this bleakness with COVID that was just like a hit in the gut. And I wanted that to be symbolized when I threw this paint. And I was just like, I'm going to throw black paint and it's going to hit her right in the gut, And then I did, so I did black and then I did gold from her heart. I just poured gold paint from her heart. And this was on a mannequin. So the dress was on a mannequin. So gold paint from her heart just flowing down. And that represented kind of like our hearts trying to be strong through all of this chaos and turmoil and businesses shutting down and loss of lives. Like it was so much emotionally and mentally. And then you add the long COVID on top of that with the mental aspects. It was so much. So I did the gold representing her heart. And then I did different blues. I just poured them on top of her head. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried through that whole process. Like I bawled my eyes out. And especially when I did the blue, because that represented all the different emotions that COVID brought. Like it was like wave after wave after wave. Things just kept happening and going. And it was so hard. And so I did all these different blues on top of her heads. And I'm not gonna lie, like originally when I'm thinking in my mind about this whole project, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be a disaster. It's gonna be terrible. Like I'm gonna hate this dress after I do this. And actually it came out so cool. And I loved it. I was like, this is like the coolest dress I have ever made. I let it dry and stuff. And this was like spring, summerish in 2020 when this all happened. And we were able to do a bridal show with a lot of restrictions. But it did happen. It was in the fall, like November-ish. And I was at this bridal show and I was next to the Carvel Bridal magazine. And it happened to be that it was the owner of the magazine was there. And I was showing her this video that I had made on this process with COVID, with this dress. And she was like, we should do a photo shoot on that. We should do a story. That would be great. But this thing's not coming off the mannequin. Like it is stuck on the mannequin. She was, well, what if we did, like, what if we got models? I was like, we could paint it like right on the models. So we came up with this whole crazy plan, and it's funny because it was exactly what I needed, because something about doing that and sharing that and saying, hey, let's share this COVID story about how dark and bleak and hard it is, but look how cool this came out, and like we were very hopeful, like, hey, look, like something good is going to come out of COVID, right? Like something good is going to come out of this whole craziness and this whole mess, So to be able to be a part of that story was really, really cool. And then to have a partner with the Carvel magazine to be able to do that was really, really cool. And so again, I found myself, when I couldn't sleep, when I was really full of anxiety, really anxious, really antsy, I could work on that project. I could think about it if I couldn't physically do it and slowly put it together. I knew I couldn't actually make dresses for this event. The energy was not there. So we used a lot of things that I already had and some dresses from thrift stores that we just kind of like took off like petticoats and stuff to make it easier. And it's funny. Sorry, I drink so much water. It's funny because we did this whole gallery photo. We did this whole photo shoot. We got a fine arts photographer, and the pictures were amazing. They were amazing. I mean, it really told the story of of COVID and just the craziness of that year with all the upheaval and with Black Lives Matter. Like it was so much and it was a lot. And I wanted to really show like, hey, look, like our actions, whether we mean to or not, like they like we need to watch what we do and what we say and how we say it because they have repercussions, and I really wanted to illustrate that in this photo shoot. Like we leave a mark on each other through our actions, whether we mean to or not. And the girls that we had gotten for this photo shoot, we really tried to find women who would represent this story and with different cultures and different people. And we really wanted to represent like this big picture of what COVID is and this whole year and what we are doing to each other. That's really what we wanted it to represent. And when we saw the photos, we were like, oh my gosh, we need to share these. They're so cool. And this is such a story that needs to be shared. So we ended up doing like a gallery fashion show. This was, later in 2021. We ended up doing a gallery fashion show. Again, a lot of restrictions. By then, people had vaccines, and so it was a little easier to put on an event. We tried to be very, aware of that and careful with that, and really not having it be like too crazy big enough that people could come and enjoy it and see it and stuff like that. And it's funny because it ended up being like this all these different things that helped me to be able to do something for somebody else. And the reason why I say that is because the fashion show gallery, all of the proceeds to that we gave to a community outreach. And that was something that we had talked about, and I had just said, look, like this project, like this story, this is COVID, this is everybody's story, and we need to be able to give back to these communities that are suffering. So we did it for a community outreach and gave all the proceeds to that. And it was just so good to be able to do something and work towards something that was going to do good for other people. And something about that, like I was able to do. I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I was able to do it because I was so sick, but somehow we pulled it off. Now, I will say that after that fashion show, I crashed. Like I completely crashed. I think when I started really going downhill with my symptoms, because we still didn't know, and we didn't know that overdoing yourself could make it worse. Like I had no idea, and I think that that definitely played into it. I wouldn't change it. I would not change it, but I definitely think that it kind of started this spiral downhill. And I really got sick in 2021. I was really sick in 2022. We got COVID again in 2022, and that just blew up all the symptoms, and I couldn't even get out of bed like at all for months. 22 was really, really hard, even a majority of 2023. But again, I turned to like art and fashion and design to kind of like help me get through it. I still, it's crazy because I still actually did have a couple of clients because everybody kept moving their weddings. I was trying to finish up COVID weddings. I finally finished up my last COVID wedding this last fall. Like so crazy, that, but it was spread out and I had help and I was able to do it. But, it was really crazy. But I turned to art, I turned to design, I turned to writing and trying to find other ways to be creative, to be able to cope with these symptoms. And I learned some different things on Procreate, and then I thought, what, I really need to document my story. And I started writing. That's when I started writing my book. And it's funny because actually when I was really, really sick, I would take photos, portraits of people, and I just wipe out their faces, just wipe them out. And then I would re-put color and different things back on them. And I was just doing this just for fun, get my mind off of, things and just, So anyway, I have like this whole bunch of these pictures like that. And I had happened to show my sister these pictures. And to me, like they felt very wiped out. COVID wiped me out. And Like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, because you get those feelings with COVID where you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. You're so different from yourself, and you mourn yourself. And I think that was part of my mourning, was just wiping out these spaces, you know? And my sister said, it's funny because she looked at him and she was like, it looks like she's coming into herself. And I hadn't even told her that like I felt the exact opposite. I was just showing her. And I was like, what an interesting perspective. Like, she's coming into herself. Like, COVID is making her into something. Like, but my sister saw like this beauty in this artwork. Like, she just thought it was so beautiful, you know? So, I think that was a real turning point for me where I was like, you know what? Like, you know, even though this has been so horrific and so hard, I still think that there is something that can come out of it that will be good. Like, you know, maybe things will be different and look different for myself, but I can still do things and look forward to things and you know, like live a full life still, you know. Sorry. It really changed my perspective. That's when I was like, you know what, I need to write a book. I need to share some of the things that helped me get through my journey, because it's been really difficult. And writing it out was so therapeutic. It was so therapeutic. And I was just really, really, I think, touched in a way to be able to do that and to be able to get through some of those emotions and some of those feelings and some of that stuff. So I wrote this book. It talks about the painted dress. It talks about all kinds of other crazy stuff that I am doing or you know, planning to do. Like, you know, it's just how I'm dealing with things. It talks about healing and just really finding purpose despite challenges that are thrown at you that you're just not expecting. And I have a quote that I absolutely love, and I talk about this in the book. It says that uh, sorry, I'm trying to think because my mind is going wild. A minute. Life, no matter what is like, must be lived. And to live is not just to survive, it's to dance, it's to paint, it's to create, basically. And I'm just trying to paraphrase it with my COVID brain. And, you know, I really think that rings true to not only just long COVID, but anybody. We all are going through very hard challenges right now in life. And it doesn't matter what life is like. Like, it can be, and it is hard and it is ugly and it is difficult, but we can't just survive through it. We need to live it. We need to experience it. We need to find joy in it. And that is what I think resonates with me with that quote. And I talk a lot about that as well. And finding the joy in the journey, you know, can be hard. It can be so hard, and especially going through something that has been so unknown and misunderstood. People accuse me all the time of being like, oh, long COVID's not real. You're just making it up for some agenda. And I'm like, what agenda? Because I'm pretty open with my story. Agenda am I supporting here? Because this is really terrible. Like, it did some terrible things, and there's some repercussions that we are experiencing from COVID. And just recently, we found out that even my niece and nephew, who are little, I'm talking 5 months, little, are having repercussions from COVID. And like, I just don't know if people understand, like, this is a big deal. This is a big problem. Like, a lot of people have long COVID, like a lot of people have long COVID, and they are suffering, like, because, you know, and I know, because I went through it, they are suffering, and it is hard, and it is mentally hard and mentally challenging, and physically hard and physically challenging. And then you're told, oh, you're just faking it. You can't, you're not getting out of bed because you're just being lazy. And it's like, no, like, literally physically your body cannot move. Like, and now they are finding that our mitochondria has been damaged, our muscle tissue is damaged. Like, this is serious stuff. Yesterday, like, they really got to change this idea that COVID itself is a respiratory disease, because it's not. It's a vascular disease, and because it's a vascular disease, it can affect every organ, every system, everything in your body and your brain. And I have a lot of neurological problems from COVID that are have been very serious. And I've come a long way, for sure. I'm nowhere close to where I was before. Like, I can't run. I can't do what I used to do. I usually, I try to do something each day, and usually it's like an hour or two of something that I can do, and then I have to rest again, but at least I'm able to do some things. I'm being able to go and do things, go places. I usually have to plan it, where I rest the day before and then the day after, and sometimes even the weekend after, like, the weekends are always my rest week too, because we're just go, right? Like, we have kids who are back in school, they have things that they're doing. And so, like, by Thursday, I'm pretty exhausted. So usually the weekends I use to really rest and recoup. So it's been quite a journey, and I've had to come up with like tricks and tools and different things to like help me each day to move forward. Because when you wake up in the morning with long COVID, and I know that this is also with other chronic conditions, like, you are in so much pain in those morning hours when you wake up, and like, it's just like this instant reminder, like, oh yeah, I'm still sick. I'm still sick, and there are two things that I have done each morning. And the first thing is before I even move a muscle, I think of 5 things I'm thankful for. Because if I don't, my day starts out sad and depressing and frustrating, because all this pain that comes back, and I have to move forward. So I think of 5 things I'm thankful for. So that way, instead of starting the day in, being upset or frustrated, like the negativity, I start the day in a positive way. And it's really helped me to be able to move forward each and every day. The second thing that I do is that most mornings I do not want to move. I don't want to get out of bed. I just want to stay in bed all day. Like, I really do. And which is totally not like me. Like, that was night and day difference from me before COVID, who was like up at 5 a.m. running the trails, to me now, who will gladly sleep in till 11. It's totally different. So I tell myself, okay, you're going to get out of bed. You're going to do some breathing exercises, which is something that I have done every day since I got COVID, because it's made a huge difference for my lungs and my ability to like get going. So I do breathing exercises. And then I will do some kind of groundwork exercises like Pilates or yoga. I have to be careful though, because like a lot of like my arms and legs are weak. So I can't poses in yoga where you're standing, there forever. I can't do those yet. Like 4 years and I still can't do those. I still have to do simpler ones, but I do some kind of simple exercise, simple movements for about 45 minutes, 30 minutes, just depending. Sometimes I can add a little bit of what I would call jumping jacks or some kind of like little bit of a cardio, but it's not like really a cardio. You know what I'm saying? It's not running. Something like that. And then I get ready for the day. So, which is a slow process. It takes me a while to get ready and get everything going. And, it's a process. But if by that time, after I've done those things, my breathing exercises and these simple movements, and then if by that time I feel I still have to go lay back down, then I do. I give myself that permission to go, you know what? I'm still healing from this. I need to give myself the space and time that it needs to heal. And so I will let myself, I just lost my earbud. Sorry about that. So I will give myself permission.
I love that. And that's super important. I appreciate you sharing those tips and those things, because people,
yeah.
it's good for them to know that. But we're going to put, we'll wrap up the show, but we want to thank you for telling your story,
Thank
being
you.
brave, creating a movement, because that's really what you're doing with the dresses and the paint. And we will have her information down here in the show notes so that you can reach out and get a hold of her. And her book will be coming out shortly. We'll have all those details
Yes.
for you. You can go and check it out and get her story and hear a little bit more. And I hope you put some pictures in the book as well.
I am, yeah. I'm planning on, I wanted to do them in color, but it makes the book a little pricey. But I'll find ways to also be able, so you can find the pictures in color as well, like a QR code or something.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And thank you, listeners, for sticking it out and listening to another long COVID survivors. And things will keep moving forward and she'll keep getting better, right?
Yeah.
I know I'll keep getting absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Thank you.
Our biggest dream and desire is to bring lasting impact to the lives of the millions experiencing long COVID effects and symptoms all across the world. Please join us. You can reach out to us at adventurebucketwish.org. Our biggest dream and desire is to bring lasting impact to the lives of the millions experiencing long COVID effects and symptoms all across the world. Please join us. You can reach out to us at adventurebucketwish.org.